Susan Snell is a professional archivist and records manager. She has experience in a wide spectrum of archives, including local authority, business, museum repositories. And she is very keen to encourage access to the museum's archive collections. She has a particular interest in 18th century and early 19th century resources. Her role includes providing advice on archive resources at the museum to researchers who range from Freemasons investigating the history of lodges and chapters to family historians seeking details about past members. Susan has helped many researchers looking into activities relating to Freemasonry, sports, theater, publishing, etc. She has a special interest in members of the Parsi Zoroastrian community in India and in London. And she has written articles about Freemasonry in India. She is Susan Snell, an archivist and records manager, Museum of Freemasonry in London. And Susan will now make a PowerPoint presentation on Brother K.
Well, thank you very much to Mr. Venkatraman and the District Grand Master and everybody there for inviting me to come and provide this inaugural memorial lecture to members and guests of the District Grand Lodge of India Scottish Constitution. This evening, I will share details about links between the Parsi community and Freemasonry, in particular, members of the CAMA family. A few years ago, inspired by a London-wide cultural celebration of identity and how individuals who lived, worked, or played in London interpret this, I selected as my subject Dorabji Pestanji Camas. Very little was known about Camas, except for the fact in 1886 he served as Grand Treasurer of the United Grand Lodge of England. Here he is. This photographic portrait taken that year depicts him in his new Masonic regalia, showing the key that he's a treasurer, wearing his fine topi. Accepting a challenge to discover more, my research began to unravel hidden links between India, Britain, Zoroastrians, and Freemasonry. In consequence, the story of the Camas family and their success in building relationships through Freemasonry among diverse communities from the mid-19th century can be revealed for the first time. So we've had a bit about the background to Freemasonry, but it may help explain why Parsis, and in particular members of the Camas family, were attracted to join this fraternal organisation. Freemasonry emerged as a membership body in England and Wales after the formation of a Grand Lodge in London in 1717. Before then, several lodges comprising speculative masons, these were not men working in the building trade, met to practice ritual adapted for use from groups of operative stonemasons. In 1751, a group of rival masons formed the Ancients Grand Lodge, and the original Grand Lodge became known as the Moderns or Premier. In 1813, the two bodies formed the United Grand Lodge of England, with the Duke of Sussex, who was a younger son of King George III, as Grand Master. The Duke was Grand Master for 30 years until his death and encouraged consolidation and uniformity, establishing the basic administrative structure for Freemasonry, which continues to this day. So Freemasonry spread throughout the world in the early 18th century, supported by British military campaigns and trade expansion. The absorption of India into the emerging British Empire differed from the settlement of colonies in America, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Given its historic traditions, diverse identities, and sophisticated culture, India could only be governed with the tacit support of its population and rulers. Therefore, in India, Freemasonry was associated initially with the East India Company and its personnel. The first English Masonic Lodge was established in the East India Arms, Fort William, Kolkata, in 1729, although it ceased to meet by 30 years later. Soon the moderns and ancients established other lodges in India, in addition to those created by the Scottish and Irish Grand Lodges. Membership of Masonic lodges was open to all who believed in a supreme being and was not restricted to Christians, but an unwritten Europeans-only rule operated in Indian Freemasonry for many years. The initiation of a Muslim, Umdat al-Umra Bahadur, the eldest son of the Nawab of the Carnatic, Chennai, in 1775, is an early exception. To mark the occasion, the Advocate General of Bengal presented him with a special bound edition of the Book of Constitutions, the Masonic Rule Book, and a Masonic apron on behalf of Grand Lodge. This may indicate that his initiation was a gesture supported by the East India Company aimed at retaining the Nawab's support in an increasingly unstable location. Another exception was Mir Bunde Ali Khan, who joined the Ancients Marine Lodge, Calcutta, in 1812. Khan was described as universally respected by his fellow brethren, although some lodge members refrained from participating in his initiation. The Duke of Sussex supported the concept of a universal Masonic brotherhood, with initiation open to all those who believed in a supreme being and who would honour and uphold its key tenets. However, his viewpoint remained unpopular among British settlers in India. Sussex supported Catholic and all other forms of emancipation and was particularly sympathetic towards the initiation of Indians. Although he expressed caution about the indiscriminate admission of Mohammedans and Hindus, he noted that this observation applied equally to those in the Christian world whose misconduct might also discredit the craft. In his response to John Grant, Apothecary General of the East India Company and Provincial Grand Master of Bengal, who questioned whether the admittance of Indians was appropriate, Sussex stated that provided a man believe in the existence of the grand architect of the universe in futurity and extends that belief likewise to a state of rewards and punishments hereafter, such a person is fully competent to be received as a brother. The Duke participated in the initiation of members with Indian links during this period, including the Persian diplomat Mirza Abu al-Hassan Khan. Despite this support, only a few elite Indians joined Freemasonry in the early 19th century. It was not until the middle decades that Freemasonry was seen as a useful ideology for strengthening and reinforcing political and economic relationships in the British Raj. As early as 1823, Fardunji Mazban, a Parsi, initiated a debate on joining Freemasonry in the Bombay Samakar newspaper, which he founded the year before. He aimed to challenge an inaccurate perception amongst Parsis that Freemasonry was a Christian institution. 50 years later, one commentator noted that Freemasonry raised concerns among Parsis due to the linguistically similar terms masonry and missionary, as some European missionaries had tried to convert young Zoroastrians. A fear of eating alongside men of other faiths and the replacement of traditional burial customs by Masonic funeral rites and services. Despite Marsban's enthusiasm for Freemasonry, early attempts to establish lodges in Mumbai only met with partial success. Marsban printed a reply from a European Mason that revealed there were only about 3 Mumbai Parsi members at that time, but at least 7 members were required to form a new lodge. A few years later, some Indians sought membership in Scottish lodges, regarded as taking a more progressive stance on class and race issues elsewhere in the British Empire. In 1840, Manakji Kesitji, the first Parsi assistant collector of customs, tried without success to join Lodge of Perseverance in Mumbai. An erudite man, Kesitji was the first Indian member of the Royal Asiatic Society of England, and some years later was the first Indian member in Mumbai. He travelled to England, where he tried to join a lodge but was blackballed. Despite the Grand Master encouraging inclusion, individuals continued to be balloted for membership within individual lodges. Undaunted, Kessetji gained eventual acceptance in a French lodge where he was initiated by Duke de Camas of the French-Scottish Rite. On his return to Mumbai, Kessetji failed once again to join Lodge of Perseverance, but his initiation demonstrated that other lodges would accept Indian candidates. In consequence, 30 members, including members of Lodge of Perseverance, petitioned Dr. James Burns, Scottish Provincial Grand Master of Western India. They asked Burns, an East India Company medical officer, to permit the formation of a new inclusive lodge for locals. And this wonderful picture of Manakji here is accompanied by an image of a letter that I've just discovered in the archives here. And he's writing from Newcastle on Tyne, obviously one of his visits to Britain in 1862, to Dr. Oliver, who was quite a keen Freemason in Lincolnshire. So here we have the Burns Medal. As a result, Lodge Rising Star of Western India was consecrated at Mumbai in 1843 under the Scottish Constitution. Kessetji was the lodge secretary and served as worshipful master for 2 years in the 1850s. Lodge members paid for a medal to be struck in honour of their innovative Scottish Provincial Grand Master. The obverse of the medal features a bust effigy of Dr. Burns, and the reverse features images of Manakji Kessetji and a Muslim, Muhammad Jaffa. Each wears a Masonic apron, collar, and jewel of their office, with a banner in their hands. They stand beside a pedestal, and that's exactly the same pedestal that you will see in the lodge room there with you, with 2 volumes of the sacred law and a jewel and working tools at its feet. The lodge continues to prize this medal highly, and it's still awarded to Freemasons of distinction who are not lodge members as a token of great esteem and respect. Another Parsi initiated in the new Rising Star of Western India Lodge was Ardashir Kursitji Wadia, a member of the well-known shipbuilding family. Annual returns for the first 30 years of this lodge indicate that all Indian initiates were Muslims, Parsis, or Sikhs, all monotheistic religions whose members could relate to the concept of a supreme being. Freemasons often had concerns that Hindus, because of apparent polytheistic beliefs, could not become members. In addition, the English province of Bengal excluded many Indians, predominantly Hindus in that region, from joining by virtue of a discriminatory 55th bylaw. However, after representations to the United Grand Lodge in London, this bylaw was declared to contravene the main principles of the order in 1864. It was not, however, until 1872, after a 9-year battle with Lodge Courage with Humanity and various appeals to the Grand Master, that a Hindu merchant, Prasanna Kumar Dutt, was initiated in Anchor and Hope Lodge, Kolkata. Dutt went on to serve as Deputy District Grand Master for Bengal in 1893. As a result of the tenacious stance taken by Dutt and other pioneers, by the 1870s, at least 1 in 5 active lodges included Indians. This drive for membership proved that Freemasonry had much to offer all Indians, and perhaps the Parsi community in particular, who played such a dominant role in the economy and politics of 19th century Mumbai. As one historian concluded, Parsi wealth was founded on collaboration with European entrepreneurs, mostly in Western India. In economic terms, they were the middlemen between British capital and indigenous materials, particularly cotton. Leaders of the Parsi community in Mumbai also saw themselves as cultural mediators between the English and the Hindus. Often entrepreneurs and merchants, Parsis mixed with European counterparts and East India Company administrators and were keen to assimilate British culture and education. Parsis, including Dadapai Nairoji and our very own for today, K.R. Camas, attended Elphinstone College, founded in 1824. By the 1860s, 3 Camas family members, the children of Doshapai Homasji Camas and Kursitji Nusawanji Camas, and cousins of K.R. Camas, boarded at a school run by Dr. Wilhelm Inne in Liverpool, England. A renowned classicist, Inne returned to his native Germany in 1863 to establish a school at Heidelberg, where the future King Edward VII and his sons later studied. As dynamic participants in Mumbai society, the Camas family were attracted to joining Freemasonry. Membership offered opportunities to mingle with everyone who followed a similar moral code in a secular, non-religious environment. The Zoroastrian holy book, the Avesta, provided spiritual support in combating the daily struggle between good and evil. Its tenets, Humata, Hukata, and Hwashta, translate as good thoughts, good works, and good deeds. Interestingly, these have parallels with the Masonic teachings of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Zoroastrians were the first religious denomination to join Freemasonry without a direct textual connection to Solomon's Temple. To encourage inclusion, some lodges with Parsi members replaced biblical quotations with parallel texts from the Avesta. Lodges in Mumbai celebrated the Jamshedri Nowroz festival, marking the start of the Zoroastrian New Year and a time for charitable beneficence. Most importantly, Freemasonry provided Parsis, including the Camas family, with the prospect of meeting people beyond strict cultural, political, or religious boundaries. The Oriental scholar K.R. Camas later remarked, "Nowhere are the bonds of caste prejudices so thoroughly struck down as in Freemasonry." Social events organised by lodge members also facilitated multi-faith interaction for the philanthropic Camas, who supported projects to improve the education and healthcare of women and young girls. And here we see this fine loyal address that was presented by Lodge Zoroastra, which is in our collection, and engraved on the top of the silver scroll case are the words Hmata Kata Horashta, which translate as good thoughts, good works, and good deeds. With mercantile interests across India, Singapore, China, and elsewhere, Camas soon became active members of Masonic lodges established under the Scottish and later the English constitutions. Over time, they progressed to join Royal Arch Freemasonry, as well as associated orders such as the Order of the Secret Monitor in England and India. Participation involved considerable ceremony and public displays at events, such as the laying of foundation stones. Perhaps a Parsi screenwriter and photographer captured the ceremonial attraction of Freemasonry for the Camas by her comment. "I wonder whether, in the pomp, civility, and pageantry of British Empire, my ancestors saw the reincarnation of their own lost Persian Empire." The first member of the Camas family to become a Freemason was Khurshedji Rustamji Camas. This renowned Oriental and Avesta Parsi scholar, teacher, and social reformer was initiated in Rising Star of Western India Lodge in 1854, a decade after its foundation. Members of the worldwide Parsi community raised funds because they held him in such esteem after his death in 1909 to establish the R.K. Camas Oriental Institute in his honor. And I'm delighted that Dr. Mrs. Nawaz Modi is joining us today from the Institute. The Institute was inaugurated on the 18th of December 1916, and when it moved to opposite Lions Gate, a foundation stone was laid with due Masonic ceremony there on the 11th of November 1936. Still active in the field of Asian and Oriental studies, the Institute continues to publish the results of research undertaken by Zoroastrian and other scholars. And in fact, we have a few works by R.K. Camas in our library here at the Museum of Freemasonry. And these continue to be consulted by researchers, and details of all our holdings are available through our online catalogue. Meanwhile, various members of the Camas family expanded their business interests across Asia. In 1855, the family opened a branch in London at the heart of the British Empire, led by Pestonji Homusji Camas and his brothers. Few Parsis ventured to Britain before this date, and seldom remained as permanent settlers. For example, Navroji Rustam Manek Set came to London between 1724 and 1725 and gained success in unravelling his father's commercial dispute with the East India Company. Another visitor was the engineer, Ardasir Kursitji Wadia, the first Indian Fellow of the Royal Society in 1841. After a visit to America in 1849, Kursitji lived in Hammersmith, stating his profession on the 1861 census returns as late chief engineer of Her Majesty's Steam Factory, Bombay. K.R. Camas and his uncle, Mukherjee Homusji Camas, left Mumbai in 1855 to establish the new venture, taking the name of the latter's father as its registered title. Homusji Mukherjee Camas and Sons opened as the first Indian-owned mercantile business in the City of London, with a sub-branch in Liverpool. They arrived with a Parsi family friend, business partner and Freemason, Dadabhai Naoroji, described by Nehru as the grand old man of India. Naoroji soon left the Camas family firm because of his dislike for trading in opium and alcohol to set up his own cotton company, Naoroji & Co. He served as the first Indian-born Member of Parliament, representing London's Finsbury Central constituency as a Liberal MP in 1892. The Indian nationalist and co-designer of the prototype Indian flag, Madam Camas, seen here on the right, was the daughter-in-law of K.R. Camas and served as Naoroji's secretary in London from 1902 to 1907. In fact, the next two Indian-born MPs in Britain were also Parsis, but served opposing political parties. Sir Mankaji Mohanji Bhawnagri, a lawyer and initiate of Rising Star of Western India Lodge, represented Bethnal Green for the Conservatives, whereas the third, with maternal connections to the Tata Steel family, was not a Freemason. Shaperji Saklatvala served as the Labour MP for Battersea between 1922 and 1929. I've done some work in reconstructing a family tree for the Camas family, and on this we can see Dorabji Prestonji Camas and Kershadi Rustamji Camas, K.R. Camas, is there on the other side of Bikaji Camas, who is Dorabji Prestonji Camas' wife, and it shows their children. And we'll come to tell you about some of those children and their partners later in my presentation. And you can see Madam Camas is there. But the person that I want you to remember about is there's Spitama, K.R. Camas there. So before arriving in London, K.R. Camas worked for the family firm in Kolkata and Canton. Despite considerable expertise, the initial partnership of Homusji Mukherjee Camas and Sons proved unsuccessful. In England, Camas was the guest of a fellow Oriental enthusiast, Mountstuart Elphinstone, the former governor of Bombay, and decided to leave the family business to pursue his scholarly interests from 1859. Although he became a Freemason in Rising Star of Western India Lodge in 1854, K.R. Camas did not join a lodge in England. On his return to India, he reactivated his membership, serving as worshipful master of the lodge. Appointed a Justice of the Peace, he presided as the first Indian subordinate provincial Grand Master at the Provincial Grand Lodge of the Scottish Constitution in 1869. The library of the Museum of Freemasonry includes discourses he gave at the Jamshedi Nowroz festivals for the Parsi New Year at Mumbai. He was active in the Order of the Secret Monitor, inducting Chudagat Conclave number 21 in Hyderabad. Annie Besant initiated him as a member of the Theosophical Society in 1905. Munkji Homasji Camas, however, remained in London until at least 1861, when he was living in Paddington. H.M. Camas was the founder-president of the Zoroastrian Trust Funds of Europe, established as one of the earliest South Asian associations in Britain. One of his boarders at his house was Dadabhai Naoroji, described as an East India merchant, and as we'll know, he became the first Indian-born MP in England. Another Camas relative, Pestonji Homasji Camas, also worked in the London and Liverpool branches of Camas & Co. He was head of the business, but the partnership was wound up in 1871, with almost £15,000, an enormous amount of money at that date, dispersed amongst London charities. P.H. Camas founded the Camas Hospital for Women in Mumbai, where the Duke of Connaught, later Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England, laid the hospital foundation stone in 1883. This medical facility provided a workplace for several groundbreaking women doctors, including Dr. Edith Peachey, Louise Martindale, Dr. Mrs. Cecilia Rose de Monte, and Dr. Rook Mabbai, who were often unable to work in British institutions. A keen Mason, P.H. Camas was initiated in Rising Star of Western India Lodge in 1862. It would appear that the family cotton business continued for many years under the Camas & Co. banner in London, with various partnerships formed and dissolved over time. Just before the First World War, it was registered at 3-4 Great Winchester Street as D.P. Camas & Co. Exporters and Merchants. This refers to Dorabji Pestonji Camas, born in Mumbai, the son of P.H. Camas mentioned above. D.P. Camas married his cousin Bikaji, the sister of R.K. Camas, and arrived to work in the London business in 1871. The couple lived in Kensington, with D.P. Camas described as an East India merchant, Indian-British subject. D.P. Camas indulged a lifelong interest in Freemasonry and assumed a mentoring role to younger family members in London. One obituary states, "No Parsi of whatever rank or class came to London without paying him a pilgrimage, and not a few other Indians followed this custom, and that he made efforts to brighten the lives of Indian students and other sojourners in this country." Various Parsi visitors stayed with him in London, including Madame Bikaji Camas. D.P. Camas' wife, also called Bikaji, was an active participant in Victorian London society and was involved in numerous Masonic and other charities beside her husband. She travelled extensively in Britain and in 1870 contributed an account of her travels in America, Japan, and China under a nom de plume for the Gujarati newspaper Rasgoftar, started by Dadabhai Naoroji in 1851. The London Times noted later that she was the only Parsi lady to travel completely around the world. They were very enterprising. So if we turn to D.P. Camas, his early Masonic career confirmed details of his arrival in London. Following his initiation in 1869 in Lodge Courage with Humanity in Kolkata, he was passed and raised in St. David in the East Lodge, Scottish Constitution. By 1871, he joined the Marquis of Dalhousie Lodge, meeting at Freemasons Hall here in London. Camas served as worshipful master of this lodge in 1874 and remained a subscribing member until his death. Consecrated in 1867, Marquis of Dalhousie Lodge was named after J.A.B. Ramsay, the 10th Earl of Dalhousie. He was Governor General of India and was responsible for modernizing Indian administration and politics. Dadabhai Nairoji was the inaugural lodge secretary, and the Indian connection continued, with 21 brethren joining this London lodge before 1885. Many lodge members, including Nairoji, were instrumental in forming the Indian National Congress and encouraging the independence movement. As a visiting lodge master, D.P. Camas was present at the initiation of Hirjiboy Thomas G. Shroff, Justice of the Peace and a member of the Mumbai Corporation, in Neptune Lodge in 1874. This lodge welcomed 11 Parsees, including Shroff, as members between 1862 and 1874. Shroff perhaps echoed the thoughts of many London Parsees by declaring at his initiation, the extent of this vast city, its population, the bustle of its streets, its gigantic commerce, and the wealth displayed in its shops, I say, bewildered me. No doubt D.P. Camas, who may have experienced similar feelings on arrival, provided a home from home to fellow countrymen visiting the capital. Several London lodges meeting under the English Constitution welcomed Parsees and other visitors as visiting and joining members. On return to India, they, like Shroff, were able to join English Constitution lodges such as Lodge St. George, Mumbai, without the discrimination experienced by Indians 20 to 30 years earlier. Camas' Masonic career continued apace in Britain. After completing his tenure as worshipful master of Marquis of Dalhousie Lodge, he joined Lodge of Harmony at Richmond, Surrey, where he remained a member until 1887. By 1881, he was living in Hammersmith, but a few years later, he moved to 44 St. Mark's Road, Kensington. He was a joining member of Sir Francis Burdett Lodge at Twickenham until he resigned in 1895. He was made an honorary member of Earl of Carnarvon Lodge at Hampton Court and was a subscribing member of Royal Alfred Lodge, Guildford, until he resigned in 1895. In craft Freemasonry, Camas' finest hour came as founder and inaugural worshipful master of Camas Lodge at Hampton Court. City members of Marquis of Dalhousie Lodge, who were keen to attend Masonic meetings in the summer when most London lodges did not meet, proposed its formation. The lodge's warrant was granted in August 1885, and Colonel Sir Francis Burdett, who was initiated in India, consecrated the lodge at Hampton Court. Another consecration attendee, Dr. Mark Tanner, was also initiated in India and was at the consecration at the first Parsee Lodge in Mumbai. Camas presented the secretary's jewel to the lodge and became an honorary member. In his consecration speech, Camas mentioned the lodge was named after the founder of the Camas family, his grandfather's grandfather, Kamaji Kuvaji, who, like many Parsee refugees from Persia, lived in Surat before moving to Mumbai in 1735 and working in the government treasury. Camas also remarked that his participation in Masonry had taught him All human beings were equal, and that was the motto of Sir Francis Burdett. CAMA family members were associated with this lodge for many years. The founders included the merchant Homusji Dosabai. K.R. Camas, our hero of the day, a member of the Indian Medical Service, joined for a year in 1886, aged 29. The lodge took a lead in encouraging inclusiveness, initiating many Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and Parsis studying at British universities. On completion of their stay, many returned to India, so lodge bylaws included a special Indian list, resident in India membership category, with subscription fees set at half a guinea instead of 3 guineas. D.P. Camas was also an active Royal Arch Freemason, joining Iris chapter in Richmond, and he joined there from St David's chapter in Kolkata, which was meeting under the Scottish Constitution. But D.P. Camas served as first principal, which was the equivalent of a worshipful master, in 1884. He was also a founding member of Sir Francis Burdett chapter at Twickenham. He served as first principal of that chapter in 1880 and remained a member of until his death in 1910. He was also made an honorary member of Earl of Carnarvon chapter in London. In addition, Camas progressed through the provincial hierarchy of craft and Royal Arch Freemasonry. He held several offices, including Provincial Grand Director of Ceremonies in 1878 and Provincial Grand Sword Bearer the following year. The pinnacle of his Masonic career was his appointment as Grand Treasurer, the first Indian-born Grand Officer, in 1886. According to his Masonic obituary, he was elected to this position by an overwhelming majority of Grand Lodge members and presented with a set of Grand Treasurer's undress clothing on his appointment. Both he and Mrs. Camas, who predeceased him in 1890, were active patrons of several Masonic charities. Camas donated prizes to the Masonic schools, the Royal Masonic Benevolent Institution, and the Mark Benevolent Fund, and they both served as stewards of the charities, making donations at various Masonic festivals that raise funds to sustain these organisations. Not content with these honours, Camas developed an interest in the cryptic degrees. He was involved in Mark Freemasonry, which may have presented opportunities to participate at a higher level than when within the establishment-dominated United Grand Lodge of England. Practiced originally alongside craft Freemasonry at the union of the two Grand Lodges in 1813, the marked degree was no longer included within the established framework of craft and Royal Arch Freemasonry. Despite an unsuccessful attempt to reintroduce it in 1856, a separate Mark Grand Lodge was created. As a Mark Mason, Camas was master of Percy Lodge, a member of Hiram Lodge, and an honorary member of Earl of Carnarvon Lodge, and served as Mark Grand Officer for Middlesex and Surrey. Following in the footsteps of his Camas relatives in India, D.P. joined the Order of the Secret Monitor and served as its Grand Counsellor. Perhaps the order held a particular appeal for Parsis because of its non-Trinitarian emphasis on friendship, fidelity, and the virtues of brotherly love, relief, and truth than other Masonic orders. Despite its complex ritual, no doubt Zoroastrians found its relative lack of formality attractive. It was of Dutch origin, but reintroduced in England by Dr. Zachary on his return from the American Civil War in about 1874-5. The OSM, as it's known, Order of the Secret Monitor, formed a Grand Council in 1887, and the CAMA family played a fundamental role in its wider acceptance and growth in India. DP CAMA was the consecrated officer at the formation of the first conclave, which is the equivalent of a lodge, of secret monitors in Mumbai, called the CAMA Conclave in 1894, sorry. DP Camas played a key role in many events concerning India, and in particular the Parsi community in London, and attended several dinners at the Mansion House, hosted by the Lord Mayor, with guests including the Prince of Wales. He attended dinners at the Northbrook India Club, which was a club named after Thomas George Baring, the first Earl of Northbrook, who was a Liberal politician and Viceroy of India in the 1870s. This non-political club, together with the Asiatic Home, the Oriental Institute at Woking, and the National Indian Association, formed the main support organisations for contemporary Indians in Britain. Camas and his wife attended receptions given by Sir Jahangir Kawasji Jehangir Reddy Money and his wife at their South Kensington home for Lord and Lady Ree. Donald James Mackay, Baron Ree, was governor of Mumbai in the 1880s and president of the Royal Asiatic Society from 1893 to his death in 1921. Lord Ree was known for his encouragement of medical, legal, and technical education, and his wife devoted her interests to women's welfare in Western India. Other attendees included the former Prime Minister, William Ewart Gladstone, and Dadabhai Naoroji, who heard Jehangir thank the Rees for breaking down the barriers dividing European and native communities by throwing open Government House. Despite the earlier dissolution of the business partnership between the Camas family and Dadabhai Naoroji, both parties remained on good terms both politically and socially. DP Camas attended a meeting at the National Liberal Club in 1892 to celebrate the appointment of Naoroji as MP for Finsbury Central, but also attended other dinners to celebrate the return of Samankaji Mohanji Bhawnagri as Conservative MP. Like many Parsis, Camas supported British rule or worked with British administration to ameliorate political and economic conditions in India. However, other Indians, including his niece by marriage, Madame Camas, joined the struggle for independence. One activist, Madame Lal Dhingra, wounded Sir Curzon Wyllie, aide to the Secretary of State for India, at a concert held by the National Indian Association at the Imperial Institute in London. Dhingra's assassination target was unharmed, but instead killed Kawas Lal Kaka, a Parsi doctor based at the School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Camas was one of 200 Parsis and Indians, including Dadabhai Naoroji and Mahatma Gandhi, who attended Lal Kaka's funeral in 1909. As an active member of the expanding Parsi community in London, and following in the footsteps of his philanthropist father, Camas joined many scientific and other societies. He was a liberal supporter of numerous charities, contributing to the Colonial and Indian exhibition at South Kensington in 1886. He was a holding trustee of the Zoroastrian Trust Funds of Europe and was a signatory to 3 petitions presented to the Shahs of Iran, aimed at alleviating the lives and ending the persecution of Zoroastrians at the turn of the 20th century. On several occasions, he donated to the Mansion House Poor Box, making contributions to commemorate his father, Pestunji Homusji Camas. He emphasized the custom of Parsis to devote the first offerings of the new year to charity, including hospitals and the poor, sometimes to mark the anniversary of his father and his mother's deaths. Quite by chance, another of D.P. Camas' charitable acts is associated with the very origins of Freemasonry in England and Wales. The CAMA manuscript is one of more than 100 versions of a group of documents dating from the 15th century, known collectively as the Old Charges. They list the charges or rules that stonemasons should obey in order to join the lodge, which were adopted by speculative Freemasons in the late 17th century. The manuscript, dating from 1723, which can be seen here on the right, was found on the premises of a stationer and printer and Freemason at Margate, Kent. Once its importance was recognised, they made an agreement that as Union Lodge in Margate wanted to support a case for consideration by the Royal Masonic Benevolent Institutions, D.P. CAMA provided his 75 supporting votes for the candidate that they wanted to support for help in exchange for the transfer of this document, which continues to be called the CAMA manuscript today. The manuscript was secured for the premier Masonic Research Lodge, Quattro Coronati, and was named in CAMA's honour in 1888. The CAMA manuscript continues to be held on deposit from this lodge at the Museum of Freemasonry. D.P. CAMA was one of a few Parsees who settled for life in London after his arrival and died at his house in Kensington in 1910. His obituary in the Freemason reported his death with widespread regret, remarking that his interest in the craft never flagged. His remains were interred in the Zoroastrian section of Brookwood Cemetery, purchased for the use by members of the Carsey community in 1862. His body was taken by train from the London Necropolis Company station in London to the cemetery, which is at Woking in Surrey, where his remains were interred with his devoted wife, Bikaji, and his grave marker includes a design with a spray of foliage, which may represent the Masonic sprig of acacia. CAMA & Co. survived as a business concern for some years after his death, with various family members arriving from Mumbai to work in London. Although D.P. CAMA and his wife had no children, various nieces and nephews became substitute offspring, including the sons and daughters of K.R. CAMA. His sons, this is K.R. CAMA's sons, Rustam K.R. CAMA, Jehangir K.R. CAMA, Sosyan, Surosh K.R. and Spitama were all Freemasons active in CAMA and other English Constitution lodges. Rustam was the first master and Spitama a founding member of Lodge K.R. CAMA under the Scottish Constitution, constituted in 1930 in Mumbai. To celebrate the consecration, the Masters of CAMA Lodge in England and the new lodge became honorary members of each other's lodge, and CAMA Lodge presented the lodge in Mumbai with a silver matchbox. Jehangir, a barrister, was Grand Organist of the Grand Lodge of All India and was active in the Order of the Secret Monitor. Shurosh, Spitama and Sosyan formed the Anglo-India Cigar Company, otherwise known as Surosh K.R. CAMA & Co. in the City of London until the 1950s. By the mid-1950s, the remaining CAMA sibling in London, Spitama, was living in Hendon, marking a century of CAMA family businesses in London. Surosh K.R. CAMA moved to Hampshire, but married in Newport, Wales, and left a son, Spenishta, who died aged 92 in May 2001. A barrister, property magnate, and keen sportsman, in true Camas philanthropic style, Spen left substantial legacies to Sussex cricket clubs. In conclusion, this article unravels the enduring but unexplored relationship between members of the CAMA family, in particular DP CAMA, with Freemasonry. The Camas were respected philanthropists in India and England, with several members making significant contributions to commercial enterprises and local communities. In common with other Parsis, the Kami family welcomed the membership benefits of such an inclusive organisation as Freemasonry, with participants able to meet on an equal basis, on the level, and assimilate the customs of host countries, regardless of religious or political affiliations. Participation enabled DP Karma and other Parsis to retain their cultural and religious identities while building sustainable bridges between individuals and countries that may not otherwise have been possible. As a lasting legacy, many Parsis continue to be active Freemasons in India and Britain, helping to combat cultural divisions and tensions through membership of an organisation that maintains moral values that align with Zoroastrianism. Thank you all very much for listening on what must be a hot evening in Mumbai and a very hot afternoon in London. Thank you very much.